and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Will there be any conflict of interest if a person combines the roles of a chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform crew every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV, your talent station, via DSTV 255 and UHF 43.
Corporate Governance Platform, your strategy for the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities. Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
Many thanks for joining us on Corporate Governance Platform, coming to you live from MITV studio here in Lagos. I am your regular anchorman, Tunde Odeyemi, and today's episode we are going to discuss the importance of compliance in the context of corporate governance. And I have with me here in the studio my guest that will do justice to that topic and lead in the conversation. Her name is Mrs. EZINNE NJOKU-OBI. Mrs. NJOKU-OBI is a lawyer, a chartered secretary, an administrator, and a seasoned corporate governance professional with decades of experience in law, corporate secretaryship, administration, and corporate governance. She is a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, and the principal partner of a law firm, Olive Chambers. She has presented numerous lectures on law and corporate governance. It is my pleasure to welcome and introduce to us Mrs. EZINNE NJOKU-OBI. You are welcome to the program, madam.
Thank you very much, sir.
And thank you for finding time to join us on Corporate Governance Platform.
Always a pleasure, sir.
All right. Now, we are discussing the importance of compliance in the context of corporate governance. Now, what exactly does the term compliance refer to?
Compliance in terms of corporate governance is simply following the rules, guidelines, procedures set up under corporate governance by the NCCG. That's the Corporate Code of Governance in Nigeria. So in every company, you have the guidelines, the strategy. There is a procedure, there is a process, there's a structure. So it's to get the employees from the chairman down to the, all the departments complying with those things that have in the guidelines. And that's really what it's all about. Because ultimately that will make the company a success. That's what gives for good corporate governance at the end of the day and improves the integrity and trust of people in that organization when you're complying.
Okay, why is compliance is such an important issue when it comes to corporate governance then?
Yeah, because compliance is important in corporate governance because what's the point? If you have structure, if you have guidelines, if you have rules and you don't follow. Because what we're trying to do, what the corporate governance code is trying to do is to improve integrity, improve public trust in companies, improve economy, the economy of the companies, ultimately the economy of the nation. And so if you comply with the guidelines set down, what does that ultimately result in? If you build a compliance culture in a company, in various organizations, whether it's small, middle scale, or large scale, it translates to success, organizational success, which ultimately, translates to, trust in the company and economic buoyancy.
Okay, that means obeying those set rules, set principles, standards that is set by the organization is actually complying to the rules of the organization. There are corporate governance rules, and in some companies we have code of conduct for that company. Is it saying the same thing?
The code of conduct should align. Whatever your strategy is, you should align with the corporate governance best principles.
Okay.
You see how it works. So you derive from what the corporate governance best principles set for you. This is what you should do. No insider trading, no corruption, there should be zero tolerance for any sort of discrimination or corruption. Follow those guidelines. You use them and set it up according to your own company. As long as it's aligning with corporate governance principles, ultimately it's going to be, augur well for the company.
Okay. There is this statement that says non-compliance can spell doom for organization. Can you explain this statement in the context of corporate governance?
Lack of compliance can truly spell doom, because if you don't comply and the company runs into problems, because you have different sectoral bodies that guide. Like, for instance, you have the CBN, you have the SEC and different things, and there's a problem. You lose reputation, you lose economic value. And if you lose economic value, you're losing integrity, you're losing business as well. And in an economy and a world like this, that social media has, collapsed the world to a global village, it may not be very easy for that company to rise up again. You understand? So it's important that you comply. However, the NCCG has come to temper, before it was comply or else. Okay. They sanctions. Now it's like, okay, it's a coercive thing. Apply and explain, as in, these are the best ways you can go about things. Try to follow this. It's like a child in a house. The mother is saying, do it this way. If you follow your parents' guidelines, okay, you will turn out better than if you don't, most times. So that is why compliance is important. Loss of reputation is a terrible thing for most companies. And public trust is so difficult to build that if you lose it, you may never get it back.
What of so many other companies out there that do not even know about the corporate governance code and are not even complying with corporate governance, and they are still existing? There is no loss of reputation. What do you have to say about that?
They haven't yet. The laws are made for that one day, that something will go wrong.
Okay.
And there's a problem. I'll give you a simple example. I don't know if you've heard, there's a company that is into Forex. They've been existing and doing business for, I really don't want to mention this because I think they may be, yeah. So they have been taking money from people, paying money and all that. And all of a sudden, what we heard is that there's some regulations they didn't follow by SEC. Now it's barely up. The offices are closed. They have not been able to pay anybody. So they have been existing. It's a small company.
Yeah.
There was no problem. People were getting their money, but all of a sudden, and it will be almost impossible, I dare say, for them to recover that reputation again. Because there are people who will not trust you. Because when somebody is coming to your company, it's coming that my information is protected, my investment is protected. They don't want to hear stories. And that is why these guidelines have been set. And that's why we implore any company, whether you're small, middle, or large scale, let your company secretary, let your compliance officer or corporate secretary help you set guidelines. And it is from top to bottom. It's not just the company secretary. There's the chairman, there's the MD, the EDs. It's an all-comers affair. Do you see in a family where one person, and that is why, I am opportunity to have been trained by IFC as a corporate governance council, okay, and they likened it to the mother in the family.
Okay.
That is what the corporate secretary really is. Synchronizes every department. There's an ultimate goal. It's a family. We create a culture of corporate governance procedure. This is our family. This is how we do things. And ultimately, the company succeeds. And that's really how it works.
Well, there are three concepts here that I want us to look into. There is one that says legal compliance. Now we have corporate governance compliance, and there is ethical compliance. Can you explain these concepts?
Legal compliance simply means, for instance, okay, so as my background as a law, I know I have to keep the books of the companies that I'm company secretary to. I have to do annual returns.
That's according to law.
According to law.
Okay.
So you don't break the law. That's just simple what legal compliance means. Corporate governance compliance is according to the best principles set by the corporate governance code. You keep to those principles. You create structures, you create guidelines that will keep to those corporate governance principles. That is corporate governance compliance. Ethical compliance is that ethics simply means doing the right thing. Even if the law is there, the law is not there, you are doing the right thing. So when you bring ethics into business, then you have ethical business. A lot of companies don't believe in that because they're like, no, that is not, there's no space for that. For instance, this COVID that hit, there were companies that said to their employees, don't come to work, we'll pay you. They even had meetings and said, okay, we may not be able to pay you full, but can you take a pay cut? We will do this, we will send you this, we'll send you this. Those are people that are carrying, it's ethics. But there were companies that said, you don't come to work, you lose your job in this world that we're in. So ethics is simply having a code of business ethics that will guide you. And those code of business ethics must be in line with what the best corporate governance principles are saying as well.
Are they equally important, or there is one that is stronger than the other?
They are equally important. That is why, because we have seen there are companies, and like again, I said I'm not going to mention names because we're not doing brands here. There are companies who they followed, as a tick box, we've done this,
Okay.
We are seeing they've complied legally, they've complied with even the corporate governance, but there was no ethics. So the three must go together.
Okay.
And that is why we're saying that it is not a comply or else thing. It is an apply and explain thing. It is like saying, look, my dear company A, if you're able to do these things like this, the future is good.
Now let's move a little bit further. What relationship does compliance have with the concept of responsibility?
Okay, when you come to a company, that is what you should have your structure. You should have your policies, you should have your strategy as a company, you have the processes that you're going to carry. Somebody must be responsible for all this. So in a company, you have the board, you have the chairman, you have the managing director, you have the executive directors, you have the management, the company secretary. Everybody is responsible for getting these guidelines, the strategy rights, following those policies. Everybody has the chairman is the head. He is the one that should make sure that there is effective, how do I say it, that the guidelines are followed to the letter.
Okay.
The corporate secretary has her own liaison with the board, the management, is saying, okay, this is what I want, and with the committees as well. So it's not just
of the board, right?
Yes, it's not just to set up those principles or policies or strategy. There are people responsible for each one. You cannot come to the table at 50%. You must come, there must be ownership, it must be seen that, look, this thing, we're in this forever, we're in this to make it succeed. And so once that culture of keeping to the corporate governance is developed, and how do you develop it? By each person knowing their responsibility. It's not just to do the rules and say, oh, the rules are there, now what's my own? All I know is at the end of the day, I collect my salary.
Wow.
So that is, where the responsibility comes in. When the chairman knows his own responsibility, he executes it. The managing director knows his own, and there is a sync. And that's where the corporate secretary, like I said again, working like the mother of the family. Because not everybody will agree. And that is what part of what the training of the corporate secretary is, which, the ICSAN always does, to teach you there's emotional intelligence. So chairman and MD may not agree. Wow. Board may be at loggerheads management. You are the one who will be bringing all these children together to give you the perfect family secretary. That's right. So that's the responsibilities. Everybody carrying out their responsibilities effectively to ultimately give effective, execution of these strategies that the companies have set. And it is tailored to your company. There is no one rule fits everything. But ultimately, you bring all this together, organizational success.
Wow, wonderful. Everybody knows his responsibility and also carry out his responsibility in the family.
Of the corporate governance.
Thank you very much. We'd like to go on a very short break. We've been discussing the importance of compliance in the context of corporate governance. Let's quickly go on a short break. We'll be right back.
Corporate Governance Platform, a program from the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Would there be any conflict of interest if a person combines the roles of a chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform Coup every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV, your talent station via DSTV 255 and UHF 43.
Corporate Governance Platform, your strategy for the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities. Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, the hub of governance professionals.
You're welcome back. It's the Corporate Governance Platform coming to you from MITV. And I still have with me right here in the studio, Mrs. EZINNE NJOKU-OBI, talking about the importance of compliance in the context of corporate governance. Before we went on a short break,
yes,
we discussed the relationship between compliance in corporate governance with responsibility.
Yes.
I'd like you to look at this. What relationship does compliance have with the notion of sustainability?
Okay, sustainability, simply put, just means you meet your needs with the resources available.
Wow.
And when you finish, there should be some left for generations unborn.
Wow.
So, the corporate governance rules, principles, tell you, make sure that there's transparency in what you're doing, build trust, integrity, let there be no signs of corruption or bribery or underhand, whatever. And to ignore the rules of sustainability. You must, sustainability cuts across the health and hazard, social, economic issues, environmental issues, economic issues, so many issues. Any company that wants to sustain itself must align its strategies, must align its policies to sustainability.
Wow.
You can't just say, I'll do for myself now, later on, which is what happens with a lot of companies. You must think about the generations that are coming after. So you will see that many brands now, you will see those who are doing, they are saying, oh, eco-friendly.
Okay.
They are reducing wastage of water. They are saying, okay, let's renewable energy. That's where we're going. That's what is happening. Sustainability. Because if you finish the world will expire, and we're still in it.
And we don't want it to expire.
That's it. So, corporate governance, to align your strategy with corporate governance principles, means that you're aligning yourself with sustainability. It's important. It has come to stay.
Okay.
So, the companies must have zero tolerance for abuse, must have zero tolerance for any form of, discrimination.
Is it then right to say that the whole essence of corporate governance is the sustainability of the business?
It's important. It is. Because why are you doing a business? Why are you running a business that at the end of the day is going to go kaput? And it goes kaput because, of course, the thing is, it is a fine line, because the corporate world is like a dog-eat-dog world out there.
Okay.
But what corporate governance brings to bear is that whatever business you're doing must be about the human being.
Wow.
Yeah, it is for us. And so if you're doing business, it cannot just be about the money. There has to be transparency. There has to be that humane side of it. That is what corporate governance brings in. To say, no, you're using your flaring gas here. You're employing people here. Have you cleaned up your environment? Have you taken care of the health and hazard issues around the people you're employing? Have you taken care of them? There must be a humane side to it. So sustainability, whatever strategies any company or organization is having, align it with sustainable issues.
Wow. Okay, what impact does compliance have on, you mentioned companies' reputation a lot.
Yes.
What impact does compliance on corporate governance has on companies' reputation?
It's very important because, like I said, social media. So one thing leaks out, and that's it.
Wow.
Public trust is gone down. So today, you're a company that, your shares are fantastic, they're doing well. One misstep or mistake, you're out of line with, and maybe one of the regulatory bodies just says, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. And the people in the media, we had a training with the media, and it gets up, because transparency means that you should not skip anything. Yes, I mean, within the confines of confidentiality for your clients and everything. But if, for instance, such a thing gets out to social media, so today you're 100%, tomorrow you're 0%, it's difficult to build that public trust again. It's difficult to build that reputation again. So compliance is very key to reputation. If, for instance, a company is saying we take care of, we're producing skincare products, and then it is seen that you have been using it to test on human beings just because they are dirty. You know, you can't, like this same thing again. I refer back to the COVID era. A lot of there's so many conspiracy theories, and a lot of the companies that are involved, you will see that things have been happening to their shares. You know, people are pulling out and like, no, if you're doing this, I'm not interested. It's very key to reputation. Compliance is key to the corporate governance route.
Okay. Would you say a chartered secretary is sufficiently well trained and competent to be the compliance officer or the compliance manager, as the case may be?
Very much so. My background is in law. A lot of us are chartered secretaries. We started out as lawyers, you know, and I love my profession, yeah?
Okay.
But having become a chartered secretary, and especially after that training that we went through, it was so, because, you know, there was that conflict of, okay, are you a lawyer? A lawyer can do the work of a chartered secretary now, vice versa or not. But the thing about it is that the difference where the chartered secretary comes in is that, like I said, I likened it to the mother, the soul of the company. So if you don't like mother, for those who are gender sensitive, the soul of a company. Because the lawyer will keep, or accountant or whoever, will follow compliance, follow the law.
Okay.
But the chartered secretary is the one who will build that compliance culture. Is the one who will let everybody, who will set the guidelines, set the rules, regulations, and say, we need to follow this. So we need to do this, because if we don't do this, this is what is going to happen. Okay. If we get sanctioned by SEC, this is what is going to happen. If we do this, I know people that, okay, that's true. HR, you need to do this. You need to take care of our employees, because if you don't do this, is what's going to happen. In more like a persuasive manner, knowing when to persuade, knowing when to sanction, knowing when to make sure that the compliance rules are updated and renewed, that they are followed to the letter.
I seem to like your analogy of this, this motherly analogy about the company secretary.
Yeah.
So what you're saying in essence is, once you have a trained, well-trained, sufficiently trained company secretary,
yes,
they can as well assume the position of the compliance manager of an organization.
Yes, because the chartered secretary will know when to do, how to do,
and there won't be any conflict.
No, because that is the training. It's already trained to understand legal compliance. It's already trained to understand corporate governance compliance, okay, and ethical compliance. So what, why, and how. Once those three are answered, you have a good thing going. And it's a chartered secretary that is usually equipped to do that.
Okay, I want to talk about corporate governance evaluation and board evaluation. You know, the two concepts are very popular in corporate governance platform. Now, what role is Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria playing regarding capacity building on these two concepts, especially for organizations that are interested in it?
So the role that the Institute plays is that they run training back to back for people. They have, if you want to be a charter secretary, you get to the Institute. The way the programs are set there, if you're already a charter secretary, there is updating. They have programs, continuous education for you. If you're a company, you want them to come and train for you. They train your people in-house. And it doesn't matter whether you're a big company, middle company, or small company, you can come to them. And if you need to hire, they have a pool of resources. That is, they have trained charter secretaries to help you. They train on board evaluation, they train on corporate governance evaluation, because these are key to organizational success. So ICSAN is well equipped. They have been building capacity for years. Don't forget, they're over 50 years. They've been building capacity for years. And that's why they have resources. We are all in this together, because we must have an economy that works. We must have, and when an economy works, our nation works.
Wow.
That's it.
On that line, we'll wrap it up and draw the curtain on today's episode of Corporate Governance Platform. We want to thank you very much, Mrs. EZINNE NJOKU-OBI, for finding time to come on the show.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much. We have benefited a lot from your wealth of experience on corporate governance. We want to invite our audience to join us again next week, same station, same time. I am Tunde Odeyemi. Bye for now.
Corporate Governance Platform, a program from the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, is now at your doorstep.
By the way, what is corporate governance and what are its key pillars?
Would there be any conflict of interest if a person combines the roles of a chairman and a chief executive officer in a corporate organization?
What can Nigeria do to gain international recognition in the context of the application of corporate governance?
These and many more questions will be answered on
Corporate Governance Platform, a program designed to inform and educate our numerous viewers on the adoption of corporate governance best practices by corporate entities.
Join the Corporate Governance Platform crew every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. on MITV, your talent station, via DSTV 255 and UHF 43.